there, guys. This is Tara from Be Well Healthy Living. Today, I'd like to talk about vegetarianism. And there's different levels of vegetarianism. There is vegan, which is the strictest of all of them. That is actually zero animal-based products. So no honey, no dairy, nothing that requires an animal in the making of that product. So ideally, it would be all fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, pretty much anything that does not come from an animal. That is the absolute strictest of all of them. Then there is vegetarianism, and that usually allows for dairy and honey and some animal-based products where it does not actually kill the animal. So no meats. However, honey is allowed as long as it's ethically sourced, and dairy, preferably organic or hormone-free dairy. So there's some a little bit of wiggle room there. Then there is maybe like a pescatarian, where they don't eat any normal animal products, but they allow themselves to eat fish. So that's another level of vegetarianism. That allowing themselves to eat fish sometimes is a great way to get some extra protein for people who need a little bit more wiggle room. And then there's eggs is a whole other issue. Sometimes vegetarians will eat eggs, some don't. Eggs can be ethically sourced because they don't require a rooster. Hens lay eggs, whether that's just part of their makeup and their being. So they are unfertilized eggs, and so there is no animal cruelty involved in there in eating an egg. So that's usually in vegetarianism. So there's different levels. There's also now what's called a flexitarian. So a flexitarian is somebody who basically maintains a vegetarian diet most of the time, but they can allow themselves to eat meat on occasion. It's a very rare thing. I've heard it said before. I think Dr. Hyman was the one where meat is the new ketchup. So you could have that just a little bit. I don't think he prescribes to that anymore, but that was a funny saying, that basically how rare you want to eat meat, but basically fill your diet mostly with a plant-based diet, and then have a little bit of meat as needed. Then on the opposite extreme, you have the carnivore diet, where all you eat is animal-based products and meat. So there's everything in between to no animal-based products to animal-based products. Now, I've seen a lot of aggression for people who sometimes are one way or the other, and I'm not going to knock any type of diet right now. I'm just going to say what I like to, what my mode of thinking is, and that's coming from somebody who's done the full gamut, and I've tried every single diet. So I can actually say that, to me, personally, what I believe is best is balance. It's not eliminating any food group, but again, it's going to be personalized to what works for you. And that's what's key, and that's what's important. So there is a book that's been written, Eat Right for Your Blood Type. And so I haven't gone in depth yet to study everything about it, but the theory makes a lot of sense. And the theory behind it is, whatever your blood type is that's how it's best to eat. So if you have an O-type blood, for example, you are going to need more of that carnivore. You're going to need more of that meat. Whereas if you, I believe, have a type A, you might work better on a vegetarian-based diet. So some people can thrive. I've seen bodybuilders that work off of a completely vegan diet, and that works for them. But it may not work for the other person, because every person is made different. So that's why it is so important to realize what works for you. So me personally, I have tried the vegan diet. I was a vegan for a short period of time. I found it was too constricting, and I wasn't getting the proper nutrition that I needed. So I found a little bit more flexibility in the vegetarian diet and even the pescatarian diet. So I've done vegetarian twice in my life. I've done, the first time I did it, probably, about 20 years ago, I was a vegetarian. And I found out after 2 years of being a vegetarian that I just wasn't getting the nutrition that I needed. And I was really strict about trying to use all the proper, healthy foods and everything. I just tried everything. And I went to an acupuncturist at the time to take care of some weird symptoms that I was feeling. And she basically told me, like, you need meat. You have to have it. You're not getting enough. And so I believe what was happening was, as I was iron deficient, and I have had issues with iron deficiency throughout the years. And so for me, a vegetarian based diet, I was not getting the proper nutrients that I needed during that time. And so I started eating meat again, and life went on. Then again, probably about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I tried the vegetarian diet again. Maybe 4 years ago, I tried the vegetarian diet again. I was vegetarian for another 2 years, and this time I was a pescatarian because I wanted to allow myself to eat salmon. Salmon is one of the superfoods in life. It is so good for you because it is super high on omega-3s, which is really needed. We need those fatty fish oils. It is one of those things that amazing. So I allowed myself to eat that because I knew that it was super nutritious and it was something that I needed, would help basically give me more protein, because it was a piggyback off of what I had experienced before with vegetarianism, where I didn't get enough protein. So allowing myself to eat that, I thought, would be a surefire bet to avoid that iron deficiency, to be a little bit more healthy. Also, there's a lot more focus on getting nutrition from the actual plants and not foods that were processed. So I think that when you're in a vegetarian-based diet, you're going to rely more heavily on carbohydrates, more on rices and grains and things like that. So you're not going to get, it's hard to get that protein balance on a vegetarian-based diet unless you're eating a heck of a lot of beans and nuts. And that's really hard to do, to get the adequate amount of protein. So what happened is that, I gained a ton of weight. So not only did I have the opposite effect, not only did I gain weight, I was feeling dizzy, lightheaded, and it just didn't work after years. And so the reason why I went vegetarian that time, it was an ethical thing for me. I am a huge animal lover, and I believe that a lot of people on vegetarian and vegan diets love animals with all their heart. And it's a very noble cause when you're saying, I don't want to cause harm to another animal. And I totally respect that. And if you can do that and still be healthy at the same time, more power to you, then yes, then go ahead and do it. But for some people, as good intentions as they want, as much as they love animals, they just can't get enough protein. So it does not work for everybody. So the way that I recommend going around that is to make sure that if you are going to eat meat, try to choose sources that are ethically produced. Look for local farmers. If you can buy direct from farmer, that is even better. So that way you know that your food comes locally, that it is how it's processed, how it's made. It's less time in the processing of the supermarket and everything. So buying from a local farmer is absolutely always the best thing that you could do. The second thing is try to find meats that are grass-fed, organic, pasture-raised if you're doing chickens. And there's a lot of labeling misconceptions. Pasture-raised is the best thing. Cage-free can mean they can still cram a heck of a lot of birds into what's considered a cage-free area. So a good rule of thumb is pasture-raised, because you want your chickens to be able to eat the bugs. I know it sounds really crazy, but when you see on the egg box, vegetarian raised hens, you don't want vegetarian raised hens. You want hens that have the ability to roam freely and eat bugs, because it's that protein, that all of that makes that really rich, beautiful egg yolk. So look for eggs that are pasture raised, and you're going to pay a little bit more for it at the grocery store, believe me. It's a little bit tough, but also, again, that's another one. Look for a local farmer. Chickens are going gangbuster nowadays. Everybody wants backyard chickens. So most likely you know somebody that is raising chickens. I highly recommend searching out in your local neighborhood groups to see if anybody is selling eggs around you. Support a local friend in your community and get better eggs in the process. Now, the feed may not be organic, just because organic, there's a whole lot of red tape coming with those labels. but most likely a backyard raised hen is going to be a lot more ethically raised, and those eggs are going to be a lot more ethically produced. So if you are looking for protein in those ways, those are some good things. But anyway, going back to what types of meats to choose. Chickens, if you're going to do chickens that are pasture raised, that's going to be ultimately the best thing and the healthiest for you. Grass-fed beef is another thing, and buying from local farmers whenever possible. Support your local farmers because small ag is the way to go. I'm a big advocate for small agriculture, and the more we can support those local farmers, the better, because it's better and healthier food for us. And so that kind of goes around that ethical issue of how are the animals raised that we're eating as a vegetarian, if we want to be a vegetarian or a vegan. So that's, I think, oftentimes the big thing with those types of diets is how are those animals raised. So look for those types of labels, or look for a local farmer. That will truly help in that process. If you do need meat and you have a hard time getting over big ag and how animals are treated, that's a great way around it. So you can still get that meat requirement. You can still get what your body needs, but yet you're still in your mind, you're still helping small farmers and those animals that had a better life. I mean, also, and that sounds crazy, it's really hard to think, but if you have a hunting friend, somebody that goes actually hunting, those animals lived good lives before. So if you can get over that, that's another great way. Venison is huge. Elk meat. Some people hunt duck. There's a lot of great other alternative methods to eating healthier meats, and I would highly look into those if you're on the fence about whether to do it or not. But this isn't. I mean, I'm not going to say that any one particular person is better. I personally subscribe to a mentality that a very balanced diet is going to be better. So you want to fill your day with mostly proteins and high quality fats. So protein meaning your animal sources, your eggs. Dairy is a little bit, I'm not, dairy should be like a condiment, because I have a hard time with dairy. There are some good dairy, like raw milk is another great option. That's a little bit different, but dairy that you buy at the grocery store, I have a hard time with, just because it can be inflammatory. So we're trying to get mostly an anti-inflammatory diet. So good quality meats, good quality fats should be the predominant, as well as fruits and vegetables should be the majority of your diet. And then you're going to want some grains. And we're not going to do cheap white processed grains. We're not going to do those. It's mostly healthy types of grains like rice. There are even a potato. It sounds crazy, but a potato, like you can get some like purple potatoes and some other great potatoes, eating the skin on it. But that's going to be more of a side portion. And later on, I'm going to be talking about carb timing and when is the best time of day to eat your carbs and the worst time of day to eat your carbs. So that's going to be another video, another day. But again, mostly protein, high quality fats. Now you want your fat sources to come from, like, animal sources are good. Coconut, avocado, olive oil. Those are basically the types of fats that you want to use. Butter, grass-fed butter is amazing. Ghee is another thing. So we're going to have a whole other video on the difference between good fats and negative fats, between seed oils and healthy oils that you would flock to. Even just changing that one small thing in your diet by eliminating those seed oils and going towards healthier oils can be huge for inflammation in your body. So anyway, bringing it back, I know I kind of get I get sidetracked on a million different things, but because there's so much to talk about. I mean, nutrition is just like, if you're new to nutrition and you've never heard some of these things, it can kind of be like, boom, like it's a lot of information. So my goal is to break it down so it makes it easy and not overwhelming for you. So again, your diet, if you want to be a vegetarian, that's fine. So really focus on getting as much protein in that diet. Less processed foods, the better, if you do want to go the vegan and vegetarian option. You just have to make sure that you are getting your protein in. Protein is so key for your overall health. It helps your metabolic health. It helps everything in your body regulate. So the highest is going to be beans and nuts are probably going to be your best sources. Can maybe consider adding fish if you're okay with that, because salmon, again, it's a superfood. If you can do that, if not, that's the best thing. If you were looking for more of a balanced diet, again, proteins and high quality fats, high quality protein, I should say, high quality fat, vegetables and fruits, and then a little bit of carbs. Now, carbs, I'm not a carnivore on that side too, because I know that there's like keto and people have eliminated the entire carbohydrate food group. And I'm like, I don't agree with that either, because I feel like that is just going to lead to binging later on. And your body actually does need a little bit of carbs, but there is a way to cycle the carbs through the day that is going to work in favor for you. So that's going to be another video for another day. But hopefully I answered some questions about where I stand when it comes to some of the nutritional advice that I'm going to be giving throughout these videos and this series that I have. So I just want everybody to be as healthy as possible, and there's no one size fits all approach for everybody, and everybody has to look at what works for them, both mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, what our body actually truly needs. Because again, even though in your mind and your spirit you may want to be a vegetarian, if your body is crying out for nutrition that it's not getting, it's not worth it. You can't be sick. It's kind of like that in the airplane, and the masks come down. You got to put it on yourself before you put it on the other little kids. Sometimes you have to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others. You can't do what your purpose is to do while you're here on this earth. So anyway, there's a lot of content. There's a lot of information here, and I'm going to be going into it more in the future, but hopefully this is a good start to the conversation. So anyway, thank you so much for liking and subscribing, and I appreciate you staying with me and watching the video, and thank you so much again, and have a great day. Blessings and good health. Bye.